Sri Lanka's most powerful news brand.
Newsfirst Newsline with Suraj Cunha.
And a jolly good morning to you. This is Newsline, live as always from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo and broadcasting on TV1, live on Facebook and a little bit later on YouTube. And this morning to discuss the precis report, the Presidential Commission looking into serious allegations of fraud and abuse of power. To discuss that voluminous report is Mr. Rusiripala Thennakoon. Very good morning to you, Mr. Rusiripala.
Good morning, Faraz.
And thank you for being on Newsline. And you've carried a huge book here. Shall we show this thing to the public?
Oh,
look, it's voluminous. It's big. Can you see that? Look at it. It's thick and it's big and it's quite heavy. It's about 2 kilos in weight. About 1.5. Now then, what does this say?
Faraz, I don't think I can do any justice to answer that question because it contains so much of information.
How many pages is that?
This is over 1,000 pages.
Right.
4,000 pages, but it covers...
Is there any sections missing?
No, I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think so. It refers very clearly to 1,599 complaints received from the public on various misappropriations, corruption charges, abuse of power, etc. During the period between 2010 to 2015, because that's the term of reference of this commission report. So out of the 1,599 complaints, about 1,100 complaints were not falling within the ambit of the terms of reference of this commission. So they had to be disregarded. But the commission has investigated into 401 complaints in detail. And they have referred 70 to the Bribery and Commissioners Department to pursue action. I mean, that's being followed. Then to the FCID, 42 complaints. Then to the CID, 21 complaints. Then to various other organizations, law enforcements, about 7. And this report that is now tabled in Parliament and is awaiting, public is waiting what they are going to do with this, with specific recommendations and determinations. The report has dealt with 34 specific cases of abuse of power and misuse of power and misappropriation of huge sums of government funds.
Now, we call a spade. So let's have some names. Give us a selection of what's what. Give us a selection. I appreciate that you're not going to be able to tell us everything that's in this report, but give us a few names and the amounts of monies and the wrongdoing.
I think it's a very difficult task to spell out. I mean, if you ask somebody's name, I can say whether that name is there or not, but that is one thing. Now, there are so many high-ranking government officials, commissioners, secretaries of ministries, chairman of corporations and public institutions, even in medical profession. So many of them, their names are here for abuse of power, misuse of funds and misappropriation of funds, and for corruption and bribery.
The Prime Minister is quoted in today's Island newspaper as saying that precis, which is who produced that report, recommends stripping Mahinda Rajapaksa of his civic right.
But as I'm constrained to say, this is another, I should say, I'm using this word very often, diabolical misrepresentation. Now, I must be very fair. Mahinda Rajapaksa's name is there. Not only Mahinda Rajapaksa, even Basil Rajapaksa, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, those names are there. Bimal Veeravansa, all the names are there. But then nowhere has it referred specifically to to take away the civic rights of Mahinda Rajapaksa for the lifetime in this report. What it says is, You know, those politicians, normally under the normal law, for bribery charges and corruption charges, if a person is imprisoned or otherwise charged and then punished, they become ineligible, if they are politicians, to contest or come to appear or come into parliament for 7 years.
Right, from the date of commitment.
From the date of that commitment or punishment.
Yeah.
And that's the standard.
Yeah.
The commission goes beyond.
Yeah.
It specifically says the manner in which the politicians have abused the power, authority, and misappropriated, and the amounts involved, suggests that they are of the opinion that this 7-year restrictive period is not sufficient. What they say is, for the lifetime, there should be such politicians, while the government officials should be deprived of those positions, should not be appointed ever again to a public office. The politician should be prevented from coming into politics for the lifetime. Now, that doesn't specifically say Mahinda Rajapaksa. I'm constrained to say that the same reference will apply to even the bond scam people. Those politicians who are involved in the bond scam, if there is any deprivation that we are thinking of, that should apply to them equally.
Because it's the one law.
It's one law. So therefore...
So what you're saying is, a very specific question to you.
Yes.
Nowhere in that report does it say the civic rights of Emma should be taken away.
No, it doesn't specifically.
It's a general statement.
This is a general statement. In fact, after every charge, or dealing with every charge concerning a politician, they have repeatedly stated that position in this report.
Right.
Now, whether it is a Harbour Corporation matter, or whether it is a health department matter, or some other department, when it involves a certain politician directly, they add that section and say the punishment we are recommending is not sufficient. It is time that the parliament should pass laws to deprive the politicians permanently and forever. And this is a thing that you and I cannot find an answer, no? We are asking the same people, most of the people who perpetrated the crimes, to pass laws against them.
Which is almost an impossibility.
Will that happen? Will that happen? This is something that the people of this country, the social organizations and the media has to take forward. They will never take this forward.
Now, in there, on Pathikada earlier this morning, in the Sinhalese program hosted by Bandula Jayasekara, you said that there are some monies that were earmarked for medicine, and where the public directly would have benefited, but they've even robbed or misused the money, even for something to do with the temples. Can you say that bit in English?
Yes, it's very sensational for us when you go into this report, certain areas. Now take, for example, the tsunami signal posts, which are the warning signals. Now that's a thing, now the disaster that we saw in this country.
Horrendous,
My God, and then the people, the lives that we lost. Even the monies allocated for the repair of the tsunami warning signal posts have been robbed. Then in the hospitals, the disinfectant liquid that you use, they have ordered substandard ones. They have submitted false receipts, vouchers, obtained monies for repairs that they have never ever done in a number of hospitals. Then they have gone beyond. Religious-wise, Buddhists have a couple of selected few places of worship of importance. Now, Digavapi is in Ampare district, is one such place. The money that was allocated for the repairs of the Digavapi by the archaeological department, they have played out that money also by supplying substandard bricks. So you can imagine, this reminds us of that story, when the guru does something bad, unacceptable in the society, the disciples do it worse. This is what has happened now. The politicians in charge have misused the power, have abused power, they have done various things, and then those officials who are down there, they have taken the cue and they have carried on.
Now, okay, it's obviously cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, rupees, millions of rupees for this commission, right? What's the answer? What's going to happen?
I think that money that they spent, whatever, I don't know the amounts, I mean, it's a domestic affair. Fortunately, we didn't have any foreigners coming in and sitting in this commission, like this, some people are now recommending.
Yeah.
Our judges, Supreme Court judges and others were sufficient, knowledgeable, and they adequately dealt with all the aspects of it, and fortunately, whatever money that we have spent has not gone out of the country.
Okay.
So that's a consolation, and I think it's fully worth. The cent, every cent that has been spent to submit this report, make these recommendations, is entirely useful to the country.
Ranil Wickremesinghe has a reputation of reading anything and everything that's put before him. Do you think he's read this?
I do not know. I think he has read it in the wrong way, the way that the first remark he made was astonishing, misleading, misdirecting. To say that.
So who's going to take action now?
Absolutely, the actions are very specifically recommended here. They have recommended, among other things, inter alia, the removal of those government officials who are still holding any positions in public institutions forthwith. That's one recommendation, specifically. They say, and secondly, they also have gone to the step of saying that they should never ever be appointed to any public office. And thirdly, they have said under what section of the law, whether it is, if it is bribery, if it is under the penal code, I mean, if it is under corruption.
So they've focused on the exact...
Everything legally. It is only left for the Attorney General to now frame charges and take action, I think. If proper action is speedily taken, our prison space will not be sufficient to keep these remand prisoners. There will be so many of them.
One of our viewers is asking why it is that we don't place these complaints before a magistrate.
No, I mean, there is no need for us to do it because the government has adequately, the president's appointment of this commission itself is a prelude to all that thing, and the action will follow. I mean, it's, we can't be very hasty on these matters. Now, the recommendations have, but one thing, I hold with that viewer, you know, there is hardly anything that a parliamentary debate can do in this. I don't know why, for what purpose people are insisting that there should be a parliamentary debate. I will predict one thing for us. Those people who are trying to willingly accommodate a parliamentary debate know very well that both sides, there will be perfect unity and understanding not to allow any meaningful debate to take place on the floor of the parliament. What they will do is, I will write it down and keep. They will sling mud at each other, shout, come to the well of the house, shout slogans, end of the thing, about 6-7 hours. They will waste the whole thing. Parliament will be suspended for a number of times, 5-6 times, for disturbances uncontrollable by the speaker. That is the end of the story. So there is no valuable result that we can expect from a debate. We don't want any debates. For God's sake, implement this.
That's what we want, isn't it?
Implement the report. Get with the legal authorities without just trying to put it under, I mean, devalue it and desecrate it by placing it before a forum where they will simply sling mud at each other. This is a people's matter. The people one day who will read this will curse these politicians for having misused these things in certain very vital areas for us, like agricultural research, like medical supplies. I mean, the way that they have misused these things. They have misused it. And one other very significant thing, most of the things that I highlighted, you know, the incidents are related to the last presidential election. vehicles have been misused, money has been misused, positions have been misused, temporary appointments have been made, millions of money is wasted, TV time abused and misused, TV time deprived to certain candidates. So all this show one thing. This last presidential election is one election where all these abuses have been on play, in act. So now we are going to have an election without any of those. So I'm wondering what the result is going to be.
A viewer is asking you
Yes.
if action should be taken against money brokers mentioned in the bond report.
Yes.
Should action be taken against them?
Action should be taken against everybody, and bond commission is one thing where it leads to very specific recovery processes, very specific. You know, now they have taken the first step, but it has to go beyond. The commission says Arjuna Mahendran is responsible for this and he has to recover from him so much. Now my question for us is, where is this Arjuna Mahendran today? Is there anybody talking about Arjuna Mahendran, those authorities? Those people who appointed him are deadly silent on that, no? There is a dead silence on that issue, no?
Actually, the silence is deafening.
Extremely deafening. Because I thought the moment the commission says recover so much and a penalty amount over and above that from such and such a person, how can you be more specific for us on that? You are absolutely on the spot on that, no? You are pinpointing and saying recover so much from this guy, and the guy is missing. And the people who were responsible and fighting hard against the wishes of the people and the public to appoint them are deadly, they're silent. They talk about debates, they talk about other things, they talk about lapses, shortcomings, you know.
And now that deputy at the central bank, Samarasiri.
Yes.
Now, the Bond Commission report is very critical of him and his actions, and that he misled the Prime Minister and so on, along with Mahendran. But you know, he was allowed to retire without, you know, his pension was intact. Now, you know, he's caused grave loss to the country. He's lied through his teeth, obviously, when he's been ill-advising, misleading the Prime Minister and so on. And now he's got away with it.
Yes, that's a very bad example that they ever set in the central bank, because central bank is a place where, you know, it's a banker's banker. Discipline-wise, money control-wise, regulatory-wise, arm-wise, you know, central bank is it's like the Bible for the bankers. You know, what they do there as disciplinary actions and what precedences they create are being followed by the entire banking industry or the financial industry in the country.
Indeed.
Now, in such a place, when the commission very clearly has said, in very perfect terms, no uncertain terms, they have said, Samarasiri is responsible for his role, for his undoings as the chairman of the tender board of this central bank. And in the first bond scam, if not for the faulty decision that he took, and that he took with the instructions of Arjuna Mahendran according to evidence, because he has given evidence before the court to say that he telephoned Arjuna Mahendran. He walked out of the tender board meeting when all the officers in the tender board attending those officials said, don't go for this. He walked out of the meeting. He says he telephoned Arjuna Mahendran, and Arjuna Mahendran has given him 3 or 4 absurd reasons for him to stand by and approve that amount. And he came and reported, no, the governor wanted me to tell the board that to accept this for these reasons. And he is responsible. The commission has found him responsible. The commission has found him negligent. The commission has found him for want of his discharge of his duties as the chairman of the tender board of the central bank. What more for us? I mean, the worst scenario is, while he was facing those accusations and charges, while he was being questioned in the court, while these matters were all out in the open, he was appointed as to some important post in the ministry of finance, prime minister's ministry.
Actually, there was a move to appoint him as a consultant, but at cabinet, I believe that the president objected.
No, but he very much played that role behind the scene, I believe.
Right.
And he was very much, and that paved him the way. That paved the way for him to retire gracefully.
Indeed.
Because when the top is considering him to be appointed to a very high post, the people in the central bank would have thought, what is this? We must allow him to retire and go. And the thing like that, you know, that type of action, we see.
And yet, in the matter of Dagi Piris, I believe, he doesn't even get his pension.
Poor fellows, I think there are lots of, quite a number of them, and Douglas Piris is one such officer. You know, he is, I think, repenting for what he has done today, in my own opinion. So they are just left over.
So Lalit Veeratunga is another one who's going to lose his pension, 38 years of public service.
For us, when I was reading this report, I was remembering Lalit Veeratunga several times. What he paid for, why he expiated for others' sins. So many others, you know. There are now in this the Harbour Corporation matter, where Sarath Gunaratne, former MP, minister, acting minister of fisheries, was involved. You know, the money that was allocated to the development of the Negombo Lagoon have been used for a political meeting, 8.9 million rupees. And then to erect a statue, then to print invitation cards.
Talking about harbours, somewhere here in this report, doesn't it make reference to this ship? There's a ship there. Tell us about the ship.
For us, there is an incident where Sanjaya Senarath is accused, being the chairman of some unit in the something to do with the Harbour Corporation. He was the chairman of that body. His wife had a private company. They set up a private company. His wife was the owner and the director. They rented, he used this position according to this report. He has misused this position to lease out a ship belonging to the shipping corporation named Mahapola. The ship called Mahapola.
That's right.
Daily lease amount was $1,000 per day. This was given to this company. He was the chairman. His wife was the owner of this company. And he himself was a director in that company. And the ship was in use for over about 2-3 years. They have not paid the lease rental regularly. The ship was ultimately found abandoned in the foreign harbour. To restore that and to recover that, the Navy had to bear a cost of 146 million rupees. 146
million.
That's 1 million.
That is over $1 million at the time, because the exchange rate at the time was around 133.
Exactly.
So it's over $1 million US.
Well above. Now this type of abusing of power, misuse of power, and misappropriation of funds that is belonging to the state. I mean, where can one be excused? Now that is why the commission says such people should never ever be allowed to be appointed to a public institution again.
I'm just going to stop you for 1 second there. The amount you mentioned, well, that's in the book, in the Press Fact report, is 146 million. Now, the Minister of Housing, Sajid Premadasa, has a program in which he's providing 850,000 rupees to give people, homeless people, homes. Now, I've done a very quick calculation, and we could have built, Sajid Premadasa, his ministry could have had 171 houses and a little bit of money left over. 171 houses at 850,000. That's, I just want to point that out. Do carry on, Mr. Rusiripala.
We appreciate what Sajith Premadasa is doing. Of course, he is doing, even in a smaller way, what has to be done to the society.
Well, yeah.
The people who deserve to be attended to. Now see, there have been the housing ministry, which was under Vimal Veeravansa.
Yeah.
He has given very expensive flats and apartments to his friends and others, supporters, at very nominal prices, depriving huge sums of money to the public, to the state. And he is also accused. So no wonder all those people who are named in this, and there is one northern, in the north central province, minister, provincial council minister, and a former minister who has spent over given 10 million over and above for fuel for his private secretary.
Now, the other day, Malik Samaravikrama, Minister of International Trade, friend of the Prime Minister, etc., Chairman of UNP, all that business, he had said in Ceylon today, in an interview, that the state didn't lose 1 red cent. He also admits in the same interview that he hadn't read the Bond Commission's report. Then in a later paragraph, he says that the man who says that not a red cent was lost then says, well, the losses were 11 billion. Those were, by the way, the immediate losses. And that they've got 12 billion in assets to recover, presumably the 11 million. The Prime Minister also said the same thing. Now, I want to put them all on notice that the Presidential Commission's term of reference finished on the 31st of March 2016.
Yes.
Arjuna Mahendran's term, the balanced term that he was serving of Mr. Cabral, finished on the 30th of June 2016. So there were 3 months since the date that they bought that last bond.
Yes.
In that 3 months, perpetual treasuries have made a profit in excess of 6 billion, 6,000 million rupees. Nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about that. Now let me tell you, Mr. Rusiripala, at the time perpetual treasuries got their license, the capital requirement was 300 million.
300 million.
It is clear from the Presidential Commission's report that they turned that 300 million to profits in excess of 18, nearly 19 billion rupees.
Yes.
No one's talking about 6 billion rupees made in the last 3 months of Arjuna Mahendran's term. Even if they had not done anything wrong during that period, my contention is that they use this money, this is the tainted money that they made when they sabotaged the entire system and when Arjuna Mahendran made his solo misadventure. Under US law, the DA rules, for example, if you have been involved in any corrupt activity, in narcotics or whatever, they go after all your assets.
Exactly.
There's no good saying that that particular bond, they can't find any evidence. That's all rubbish, really, because they made this money, the money they made, this 19 billion, is all tainted. And who did they sell this to? They sold it to captive funds, like the EPF and so on.
Yes.
And they abused, they had a ready and willing buyer whom the chief dealers had all been induced. All that evidence came out.
They've been bribed. They have been bribed.
They've been bribed. They had 100 million bonus left on his seat. In cash.
Now, in a situation like that, for us, the statements like what you quoted being made by Malik Samaravikrama and the Prime Minister, they are ridiculous, you know. The whole world must be looking at this and saying, they have forgotten the law. They have forgotten, like you said, if this happened in any other country, the laws are sufficient for their entire properties and assets to be acquired.
And just one more point. That 6 billion that I'm talking about, the last 3 months profits, if Sajith Premadasa had that money, or the Ministry of Housing, right, 7,058 homes could have been built.
Yes.
Okay. On that note, Mr. Rusiripala Thennakoon, thank you very much for being on Newsline. Keep up the work, because we mustn't give up. It's our bounden duty to however distasteful and however sad it makes us, and it does make us sad, because these people are elected by us, and they're supposed to be honorable, and we'd like to think of them as honorable. And sadly, ever so sadly, it is our sad duty to bring all this to the notice of the public. And the public really would like some action. It's our money, and we need action, not excuses and debates. We want action. And that's about it. Mr. Rusiripala, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that's the way it was on Newsline on Monday, the 29th of January 2018. Take care. God bless.
Newsfirst Newsline with Suraj Cunha.